Just in case you don't have time to rewatch 7 seasons Game of Thrones before the show's upcoming 8th and final season premiere, it's only 67 episodes. What's wrong with you? We here at Vanity Fair will be recapping every single season of the show in order to make sure key events are fresh in your mind. Since this is a rather daunting undertaking, it's 67 episodes, what do you expect of us? We're boiling it all down to the essential stories of the surviving characters set to do battle in Season 8. If you feel a little more ambitious, there's an extra credit section below with additional information that could be good to remember when the series returns. Just because a character has died, for instance, that doesn't mean they're unimportant. For a more in-depth look at some of the key episodes of Game of Thrones, you can dive into Vanity Fair's list of the 15 most essential episodes of Game of Thrones to rewatch before the final season. But for now, here's Season 2. Previously on Game of Thrones Season 7. Previously on Game of Thrones Season 6. Previously on Game of Thrones Season 5. Previously on Game of Thrones Season 4. Previously on Game of Thrones Season 3. Previously on Game of Thrones Season 1. Essential information: Cersei Lannister, Queen Regent of Westeros, is stoked to be in control of King's Landing until her brother Tyrion shows up to mess with her plans as he uncovers her network of spies and sends her daughter, Myrcella, off to Dorne. Cersei drinks wine and hangs out with the ladies of King's Landing as the Battle of Blackwater rages outside the palace, then nearly poisons herself and Tiny Tommen, but is saved in the nick of time by the arrival of her father, Tywin Lannister. Jaime Lannister, her twin brother, is still being held captive by the Starks, and mostly sneers and quips in the mud until his cousin Alton shows up. Jaime monologues a bit, bludgeons his cousin to death, tries to escape, and is captured again, but let go by Catelyn Stark in hopes that she can exchange him for her daughter Sansa Stark. He is given a babysitter in the form of the formidable Brienne of Tarth. Tyrion Lannister, her other brother, flourishes in his role as hand to King Joffrey, roots out Cersei's spies, and tries to hide his lover, Shae, from his enemies at court. Tyrion learns about wildfire, meets with a creepy pyromancer, and demolishes Stannis Baratheon's fleet in a fiery green explosion at the Battle of Blackwater. Tyrion then gives a rousing speech, nearly dies on the battlefield, and wakes up to find out that all he got for a job well done was a big scar and a demotion as his father, Tywin, takes over the job as Joffrey's hand. Bran Stark, the last surviving son of Winterfell, is, briefly, the Lord of Winterfell in his brother Robb's absence, but loses the ancestral home to Theon Greyjoy. He watches his protectors, Luwin and Roderick, get butchered and escapes with the giant Hodor, the wildling Osha, his brother Rickon, and 2 dire wolves. The ragtag group head north. Sansa Stark, his sister, is publicly beaten by her fiancé, Joffrey, is attacked and then saved by the Hound during a riot in King's Landing, gets her first blood, waits out the Battle of Blackwater with Cersei, refuses the Hound's offer to help her escape, and is told, in the end, that she won't have to marry Joffrey after all. Arya Stark, his other sister, travels north disguised as a boy with a member of the Night's Watch named Yoren. She makes friends with Gendry, Hot Pie, and a mysterious man called Jaqen H'ghar. She gets taken captive at Harrenhal, becomes Tywin Lannister's cupbearer, ogles Gendry, and uses Jaqen's help to make her escape. In the end, he gives her a valuable coin and teaches her some Valyrian. Valar Morghulis. Jon Snow, the bastard of Winterfell, meets an unsavory character named Craster and all his wives/daughters, same thing. He goes ranging up north with Qhorin Halfhead in an attempt to assassinate the king beyond the wall. Mance Rayder. Jon spares the life of Ygritte the Wilding, tries to take her captive, resists her attempts at seduction, and kills Qhorin, at his request, in order to convincingly go undercover and infiltrate the Wildling army. Daenerys Targaryen, a Westerosi exile, goes to Qarth, loses her dragons, gets them back, has some visions, teaches her dragon babies to breathe fire, and, honestly, the less said about her storyline this season, the better. The Night King, a big scary blue guy, hasn't shown up yet. Notable deaths: Renly Baratheon, Roderick Cassel, Yaren, Irri, Doria, Mathos Seaworth, Maester Luwin, Piotr, Qhorin Halfhand, Zarozo and Exos. Defining cultural moment in Season 1, the Game of Thrones budget was so stretched that the show had to skip past a few battles in order to save money. In its cleverest rewrite, Tyrion gets knocked out before one such skirmish and wakes up when the fighting is done. This season, the producers famously begged HBO to get a bump in order to pull off everything they wanted for the Battle of Blackwater Bay. It was money well spent. The neon green explosion in Blackwater remains one of the most iconic shots in Thrones history, and gave birth to the show's reputation as a place for good-looking, emotionally wrenching battles. Extra credit though they didn't make it all the way to the end of the story. We can't forget the rise of House Baratheon in this season as fashionable, popular Renly and his grim brother Stannis squabbled over which one of them deserved to follow their brother, Robert, to the Iron Throne. Spoiler alert, neither. The introduction of Stannis meant the introduction of Melisandre and R'hllor, the Lord of Light. The fact that she gave birth to a smoke baby that then killed Renly may seem like nothing compared to what we've seen since on the show, but it was a truly crazy turn of the plot back then, and a ramp-up of the use of magic on the show. Shout out, too, to Theon Greyjoy's short stint as Lord of Winterfell. His was a precipitous rise and a tragic fall, and the beginning of the perversion of the Stark family home. Also, on a meta level, it's impossible to ignore the on-screen meet-cute between now real-life spouses Kit Harington and Rose Leslie, which lends an extra layer of meaning to their screwball comedy adventures north of the Wall. More great Game of Thrones stories from Vanity Fair. It's catch-up time. Everything you need to know about Seasons 5, 6, and 7, about that new Season 8 footage, the 15 most essential episodes to re-watch, the best weaponry for Thrones battle. Get Vanity Fair's HWD newsletters. Sign up for essential industry and award news from